It's okay. Wait till I finish. You might want to do that. Obviously, expectations were very high in 2015. Obviously, we didn't achieve or we didn't reach those heights, and there was various reasons for that, not the least being the horrific injury rate that we had. Although we didn't reach where we wanted to go, that there were a lot of positives achieved out of the season. There was enormous growth in culture, there's enormous growth in leadership, breadth and depth. John mentioned before Michael Riccitelli's job, but also Gary, even though he only played the 6 games, really improved as a leader. The leadership group, while very young, really grew, and we had a weight of numbers by the end of the season. Looking forward to that growing again next year. With I suppose, as many injuries as we have, there's opportunities arise for players, and we've increased our depth. There are a lot of players that really grab their opportunity, and it's fantastic to see. Next year it's going to be difficult to get a spot on the side. I think we really improved the ownership by the players. They drove the behaviours and standard consistently. From a coaching point of view, I was really pleased with the spirit of the team. I think the season was divided into 2 sections. I reckon the first 8 games of the year were really disappointing. There's probably 2 games out of that 8 that I could say were a pass mark. From round 9 to round 23, the spirit of the group was absolutely unbelievable. And I've played in teams, coached teams that the spirit drops away, confidence drops away for various reasons. But for the group, from round 9 onwards, to be able to stick there while we weren't winning games was absolutely unbelievable. I think every game, except probably the Richmond game, that we were in with a chance at 3/4 time. And I'll talk a bit about that later. I think the enthusiasm at training was terrific, and the players need credit for that. Their work ethic was great. Their advancement in game education, and really the game day effort improved dramatically as the season progressed. Just an example, I've got a couple of examples on that spirit of the players. Watching 360 on Fox Footy, and there's 2 respected media people, Mike Sheehan and Gerard Whateley, and they were talking one night, and Mike was talking to one of the coaches, and he was probably giving him a grilling, and it was about their lack of competitiveness at times, and they were behind in 4 games in a row at quarter time, and Mike was making the point that no matter if there's a talent differential or you've got a lot of injuries, you've got to stay in the game for as long as possible. You've really got to be able to compete, and it's an attitude thing. And since that round 9, we've played every team in the finals. We lost to Freo by 7 points. We drew with West Coast Eagles. Hawthorn down in Tassie were in the game by up 4 goals at 3/4 time. Sydney last week were down by a bit over 4 goals at 3/4 time with a chance. We beat North Melbourne. Bulldogs were in front at 3/4 time by 5 goals, ran out of legs, were in front halfway through the last quarter. Adelaide were a goal down at 3/4 time with Gary Ablett off injured. So we were really competitive. I don't think we get enough credit out of the media, of the players, and the players absolutely need some due credit for that. They were fantastic in their spirit. And there's another point made by Gerard Whateley which I found interesting. They were talking about Freo resting 11 or 12 players for their final game. And they had a conversation about them playing Port Adelaide. And they really made an excuse that if they got within 10 goals, that was a plus, it was acceptable. We had invariably 9 to 12, sometimes 13 players of our best 22. And as I said before, we were really competitive, and I don't think that was acknowledged by the media. So it was a terrific effort by the players. I think we'll get a natural improvement out of the return of the injured players. I think in growth in all areas that I've mentioned before, and I think from our physical preparation being better. It's certainly one area in this club that hasn't been great, and we certainly need to improve it. We need a first-class high-performance program. I think with the appointment of Justin Cordy, who I rate as good as anyone in Australia, that we will get that, and I'm positive that that will happen. From experience of being involved in the game for a long time, I've got great clarity about where we're going, and certainly of how we're going to get there. And it really hit me during the season. Probably the first 8 games I was a bit flummoxed, but after that I could really see some real growth in the players, some real buy-in about where we're going and what we need to do. Things can happen really quickly. People in Melbourne say that we will get a bit of a spike, but I think things can happen. It won't take 2 or 3 years. However, getting players back, improving our fitness does not guarantee success. Certainly does not guarantee we're going to win games, and does not guarantee that we're going to jump up the ladder. It needs a great deal of work to be done. The coaches are excited. We had a meeting the other day. They were really excited about the future. We spoke about a game plan and what things we need to do to get better. But I'm sure the players are equally as excited. With a great effort, high work rate and a want to improve, 2016 can be an exciting year. I'm certainly positive that we will push up the ladder, and I've got great faith and hope that we'll challenge not only for the finals but for higher honours. I'd like to thank all the supporters and sponsors. I think Bill said before about hanging tough. I think the support at the ground was terrific. I know the numbers dropped a little bit during the year, but the voice they had in the West Coast games and other games that were really close in the Fremantle game and the Wet was fantastic. So I'd like to thank them and the sponsors for sticking fat with us. They are the heart of the club, so if we can continue on that next year, there is exciting times ahead. I'd like to acknowledge the board, led by John, for their support, their direction and guidance. For the administration, led by Andrew Travis, and his personal support to me was fantastic. The football department, led by, I always say young Marcus Ashcroft. I played with Marcus, I was a Southport boy. Played with Marcus when he was a 17-year-old here when I was at the Brisbane Bears. And he came in as a quiet lad, very focused, very professional. Now it's quite unnerving that he's my boss, so it's a bit... But I'd like to thank him for his investment and his efforts as well for the footy department. It's fantastic. I'd like to acknowledge Malcolm Blight and thank him very much for his wisdom, for his provoking thoughts. We know that Malcolm is a legend of the AFL. He's been involved with a lot of other clubs, but he's certainly going to be talked about and thought about as a Gold Coast son. Also, his wife Patsy, I think both of them as a couple would be seen in the AFL as legends and one of the great couples of AFL footy. And certainly from a personal point of view, I'd like to thank Patsy for her dinners on a Wednesday night. They were fantastic. To the rest of the footy staff, support staff, part-time staff, but especially the coaches, have a group that I didn't really know, hadn't met before. Andy Lovell I had, because he's a fellow Tasmanian, but I hadn't really know the coaches and was a bit unsure about how it all worked out, but their work ethic, their ability to be solid together, their support was terrific, and their enthusiasm coming to work every day was of the highest order. So have certainly got a great group around us. I'd like to thank the media department, led by Steve Wilson. Players and coaches really don't like talking to the media. But with his guidance and with situations that arise, he certainly knows how to work the media and the right answers to be able to give at the right time. I'd like to thank the players' partners and the staff partners, but especially the players' partners for their support. What the players go through, know the commitments involved. The commitment will increase. I've told the players that, so if the players' partners can have a bit more support, it'd be fantastic, or increase that support, it'd be terrific. On a personal level, as John mentioned before, it's been a tough year for the club. It's been a reasonably difficult year for myself and my family being apart, and my wife and daughter are here tonight, Wendy and Meg, and I'd like to thank them for their support as well. It's been fantastic. I really appreciate it. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge the players and staff that are leaving the club at the end of the year and thank them very much for their contribution to the Suns, and certainly wish them all the best for their future. Have a great night. Look forward to 2016. It's going to be an exciting ride, and certainly bring it on. Go Suns.